Alright. So, properties of quadrilaterals. Oh, I need to say that too. So this sheet right here, this properties of quadrilateral sheet, is a reference sheet for us. This has all our quadrilaterals for the unit on it. We only focusing on the ones on the front today, but we will be referring back to this for the rest of the week and the beginning of next week too. The ones on the back or the other ones we'll do. The only ones we want to focus on today are the properties of the parallelograms. And we're only doing 2 of them today because it's a short day. We usually do all the parallelograms at once, but we can't just because we don't have the time to, and I want to make sure I take my time with this with y'all. So we're going to kind of part 1, part 2 of these notes. Let's talk about parallelograms in general first. Parallelograms. All parallelograms have these 5 basic properties right here, and we'll fill these in. Where they get distinguished after that is the additional properties that they have. So what I'm saying to you, everything on the front of this page is a parallelogram. A rectangle is a parallelogram, a rhombus is a parallelogram, and a square. But they all start out base as just a parallelogram with these 5 properties. What distinguishes them from each other is the additional properties that they have. These plus these on each one of these is what makes them different. But all of these shapes on the front have these 5 basic properties, which makes all of them parallelograms. Alright, so let's start out with the parallelogram itself. Properties of a parallelogram. Opposite sides are congruent. And I'm going to put the symbol at the end too. Opposite sides are parallel. I'm about to say parallelogram. Opposite sides are parallel, hence parallelogram. Opposite angles are congruent. Consecutive angles are supplementary. Supplementary meaning add up to 180 degrees. Diagonals bisect each other. The 5 properties of a parallelogram. If your shape meets those 5 things, it is a parallelogram. Out to the side, I'm gonna draw and label one. I got a ruler, you don't. You can just do your best. Probably don't know what one looks like yet, but I'm gonna draw one. And you can look at your note sheet and you can see what a parallelogram looks like. Something close to that. It'll be a parallelogram. And on there I want to mark my properties off so I can see it all marked up. I'll give you a second though if you're drawing. And honestly, this is one of those sections. It's hard for y'all to remember all these properties. A lot of times you just got to use common sense. A lot of kids was impressing me today. They kind of figuring it out. They can just see it. After we do certain stuff for so long, y'all just starting to see like what I need y'all to see. I think y'all, a lot of kids starting to get the vision. I need to help some of y'all other kids develop it. I mean, a lot of this is just sight. I told you, stuff looks congruent. You might want to assume it's congruent. If stuff don't look congruent, then don't say it's congruent. It's probably not. Alright, on this first property, opposite sides are congruent. So this side would be congruent to this side. This side would be congruent to this side, marking congruent sides. And then say opposite sides are parallel. So this side would be parallel to this side. This side would be parallel to this side. Then after that, they say opposite angles are congruent. This angle will be congruent to this opposite angle, and this angle will be congruent to this opposite angle. They say consecutive angles are supplementary, equal 180. We don't need to write that. We can just look at it and see though. So since we have parallel here and here and then here and here this way, you should start to remember the stuff we learned when we did parallel lines and transversals. Consecutive angles are the other word we used to use, the same side. Interior angles are supplementary. My consecutive angles will be here and here. If I'm looking at the parallel line this way, and it'd be here and here as well. But also here and here and here and here. You got consecutive all the way around. The two angles that are on the same side of any line in parallelograms are supplementary. So this angle and this angle add up to be 180. This angle plus this angle will be 180. This angle plus this angle will be 180. This angle plus this angle will be 180. All the way around. Consecutive angles and a parallelogram are supplementary to each other. The last thing you need to know about parallelograms, diagonals bisect each other. So if I was to put diagonals in, my diagonals in, the diagonals bisect each other on a parallelogram. If that's the case, then I know that this diagonal right here is split in half here and here. These two small segments will be congruent. And then the other way, here, this diagonal will be, or that half of that diagonal will be congruent to this half, because the two diagonals came through and split each other in half. So these are the 5 basic properties of a parallelogram. If you have those properties, then you have a parallelogram at least. On the next one, if you have a rectangle, then you have those 5 properties plus 2 more. The other 2 are all 4 angles are right angles, and then the other additional property is diagonals are congruent to each other. They don't just bisect each other, they're also congruent. So that would make this the shape of a rectangle versus just a regular parallelogram. And then we're not doing these 2 today, but just to talk about them, the rhombus has its own 3 additional properties that makes it a rhombus too. And then the square has all the properties of all of the parallelograms, rectangle, parallelogram, and rhombus. So a square would be all of those. A square, honestly, we consider that to be a rhombus, we consider that to be a rectangle, and it definitely is a parallelogram. It has the properties of all of them. Alright, slide back. So a rectangle, I'm going to draw that and show you the 2 additional properties. I'm just drawing a rectangle so you can draw your own. Ain't going to be the best, but so I got my rectangle. Zoom back in a little bit. Rectangle has all the 5 properties of a parallelogram. You got opposite sides that are congruent, here and here, here and here. Your opposite sides are parallel, here, here, and here, and here. Then you have opposite angles that are congruent. I know this angle would be congruent to this angle, and I know this angle would be congruent to this angle. Not my best markings. And then consecutive angles are supplementary. Consecutive angle here and here, yes, they have to be supplementary. They're right angles. 90 plus 90 is going to give me 180 all the way around, here to here, here to here, and here to here. So consecutive angles are supplementary. and then diagonals bisect each other. So if I draw my diagonals in, I almost missed. Hold on. Try that again. I was doing so good today. First diagonal was a little wonky. My bad. So the diagonals, draw them in, they bisect each other, so they cut each other in half. But the additional information you need to know too, all 4 angles are right angles. We already showed that because we know that. And then the other thing, the diagonals are congruent. They not only bisect each other, all of them are congruent. So that means this short segment right here will be congruent to this one, but it will also be congruent to this one and this one. It's going to be 3 marks all the way around for all your segments in there. So that's the main 2 differences between the rectangle and the parallelogram. Parallelogram, all your angles are not congruent. They are not all right angles. Only the opposite angles are congruent. And then in the parallelogram, my diagonals bisect each other, but they're not all congruent. This diagonal is shorter than this diagonal, so only this little segment will be congruent to this one on the parallelogram, and this segment will be congruent to this one. On the rectangle, all these little segments are congruent because the diagonals bisect each other and they're congruent. And then you have all right angles. That's the difference between the regular parallelogram and the rectangle. But rectangle is considered to be a parallelogram because it has all the properties of a parallelogram. Y'all good with that? Yeah, let's rock. So the notes. We're doing properties of parallelograms. We're only going to do the front today because we only got time for the front. So we're only going to deal with the rectangle and the parallelogram and the rectangle. This stuff you already have on your other reference sheet over here. We're just going to copy it over just to write it again. Opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are parallel. Alright. Opposite angles are congruent. Consecutive angles are supplementary, 180. And then diagonals bisect each other. That being said, understanding that, we should be able to answer some questions about parallelograms. Let's see what we can do. Zooming in. Alright, so it says given, on number 1, given xy equals 15. Y'all know I'm going to mark that. You should all mark it too for yourself. Xy equals 15. They said zx equals 52. Zx is this diagonal right here. So it says it's 52. For me, when it does it like that, I'll put part of the number on one side, the other part on the other side. Just to let myself know it represents the whole thing. The other 2 things, it says W angle, the measure of angle WXT is 35 degrees. On that, I'm going to hold off. I want you to mark that first. Don't wait on me. WXT is 35 degrees. I told you, some of y'all main struggle is y'all still don't know how to mark an angle correctly. Find angle WXT and put 35 degrees on it, please. And after you find angle WXT and put 35 degrees on that, find the measure of angle ZWT is 59 degrees. Mark that angle too. Don't wait on me. If you're waiting on me, that means you ain't supposed to be in here. And if I see you erasing afterwards, that means you ain't supposed to be in here either. Y'all should know how to read angles by now. If you don't put them in the right spot, you ain't gonna understand what you're doing. Alright, so WXT, you should have put your angle here. 35 degrees. And then ZWT, your angle should have been here, 59 degrees. had to wait on me to do that, then we have a problem. Alright. Let's jump start this thing. Cliff. ZW equals what? And tell me why. When I say why, tell me based on the properties how you know that. Jenna. I got something for you. I know exactly what I want you to do, Ralph. I want Cliff on this one, y'all. Huh? Okay, Meadow, go ahead. Based on the properties, how do you know that? What are the properties told you that? Like, read the specific one. Thank you. Opposite sides are congruent. I know, Cliff. I know. That's why I gave you an easy one, bro. I wasn't trying to trick you. TX equals, Zamar, you got this one? I don't know, it's a little harder. Not really, though. No. Now you got this one, Cliff? So you answered the harder one. Okay. Explain to me why, Cliff. I'm saying they gotta give me a better explanation than that. Use the properties, bro. That's what we're here for. How did you know to do that? Something about the properties told you to do that. Thank you. Diagonals bisect each other. So the diagonal ZX is 52. It's being bisected by the other diagonal, so that means TX, which is half of that. Well, it has to be half, so 26. Ralph, this one for you. The measure of angle TZY. Give me a good explanation, too. You gotta give me something good. Nah, that's not the reason why on this one. These aren't necessarily opposite angles. You should see what they are, though. They've been saying it all day. You want me to mark it off for you? There you go. Man, we've been doing this. We've been making a living off this. We just finished this in the last unit, too. Go ahead, Dakar. I'm sorry? Alternate interior. Thank you. Alternate interior angles. Y'all should be able to see that. Y'all should know that because it said opposite sides are parallel. So all the sides in here are parallel. So it's creating those relationships that y'all should not have forgot yet. You can't forget. I told you you're going to be dealing with them all year. Alternate interior angles, so 35 degrees right here as well, too. When they mean, and I'll mark them in red, when they say opposite angles are congruent, Ralph, they're talking about this full angle up here created on the parallelogram here and here. So the big angle there would be congruent to the other big angle. This would be, the reason you should have gave for 35 was alternate interior. I'll do the next one for DJ. No, that ain't a DJ problem. It's too easy. Madison, angle XYT. Huh? 52 is not on an angle, so I don't know why you would say that. 52 is ZX, which is a side, a diagonal, which is a side. That doesn't even have to do anything with angles. Faith. Why?
Because I don't know, alternate Interior angle?
Yeah, that's good.
I know what.
59 degrees, alternate interior angles that way too. DJ, so it's like you don't went ahead of us. Number 2 says AC equals 8x minus 14. EC equals 2x plus 11. Solve for x. So let's label this first. AC is this right here, 8x minus 14. And then EC is 2x plus 11. Now you understand, EC is not an angle. I'm just writing it on here for this side right here, EC, or the segment. EC. DJ, impress me. How you gonna solve for it? You gotta explain first, though.
AC is the whole thing.
Good.
8x minus 14. The 2x plus 11 is EC.
Uh-huh.
And EC will be the same as AE because of the diagonal.
Uh-huh.
So I did 2x plus 11 plus 2x plus 11, I said that equals 8.
Yeah, you can. Or you could just put my 2 in front and do the distribution. For some reason, I like that. So either way, you could write it like DJ did. You can double this, 2x plus 11. Or, you know, I showed y'all to do the 2 in front times 2x plus 11 equals 8x minus 14. My trouble with some of y'all gonna be is y'all just gonna write them equal to each other because you just think that's what you should do. If stuff is not equal, you can't just set it equal. You should understand that AC and EC are not equal. So don't just put those two things equal to each other. There's something else you gotta do. You gotta manipulate a little bit more. But we've done this enough now that y'all should be able to start seeing it. Alright, and after that y'all can solve. I don't want to solve. Y'all good. I mean, I set it up. Well, me and DJ set it up. Huh? Oh, yeah. Y'all need to solve for y'all notes. I'm not solving that. Ralph told you the answer. Make sure you get that. Alright, I'm flowing. Got 2 more, then I'm done. Well, I gotta be done anyway, but be over with. Properties of a rectangle. So we already talked about this. It has all the properties of a parallelogram plus the other 2. Let's go down here and look at what we got. Number 3 says DB equals 42. On DB, I'm putting 42. Says AD equals 26. Then it says the measure of angle DAE is 42 degrees. DAE is 42 degrees. Oh yeah, it's a Kaylee problem. The last one. We're gonna see what you can do. Either you or Jen. That last one. Making my way around the car. AC. Tell me why. Yes, sir. Tell me why. What property? You don't have to. You just need to read through and figure out which one is which. You had to know from something.
I mean, I just went from AC.
Okay, which one explains that then?
I mean, DB.
So which word property explains what you're telling me? Hurry up, man. You're wasting so much time. Those aren't opposite sides. No. What are they, Dakar? Dakar, what are they? DB and AC, man. What are they? Jesus. Why are you acting so lost right now?
I literally just looked at it.
You better than this.
I didn't even
Diagonal. So which one explains it? Diagonals are congruent. Jesus. You're embarrassing me on video. Robert. EB. Explain why. What property? Thank you, sir. Thank you for not making that complicated either. Appreciate that. Let's mess around. Jayla. Measure of angle ADC. No, it is not. Measure of angle ADC. Oh, you should know. Measure of angle ADC. You didn't even look at it. She's guessing. Measure of angle ADC. We're going to let Rachel help you. You're going to feel silly. Oh, she just said that. Never mind. Rachel going to feel silly too. Ralph, what you got? Thank you, bud. ADC is 90 degrees. How you know that, man? Oh, there it is. It's a rectangle. All four angles are right angles. I know. I'm going to put them in. We actually going to need that angle again, too, on this next one, because Kaylee going to explain this next one to us. She going to walk me around. Somebody been walking me around all day. I think Kaylee is the person that's going to do it. Kaylee, we want to find that measure of angle DEC. Let me mark that for you. Angle DEC. That's this angle inside right here. Get me that, man. Hold on, let me help you out. Things we know. I know this side is congruent to this side. I know this side is congruent to this side. I know all these diagonals, these two diagonals bisect each other and they're congruent, so I know this, 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 and this all congruent inside. Walk me around, give me an angle DEC.
It would be 45 plus 45.
45 plus 45.
To 90 angles.
No.
You don't add that?
Where you getting 45 from, though?
Because 90.
You assuming that those angles are 45, though?
No.
Yes, you are.
It's brought to the diagonal.
Okay.
The angles, the point angles are 90 degrees.
I agree with that.
But you would have to look in the half to find.
Now, they've been, the two people who did it today have been gangster with it, too. They've been, like, naming the angles, too, and walking me around. You want to try, DJ? That's wrong. Shh. I ain't got that kind of time with y'all. I'm a little, y'all supposed to be my best class. That's a little disappointing. I'm going to say what I got to say. Meadow, what's up? I don't think I'm going to get it out of this class. I'm going to have to do it myself. Shh. What's up, huh? Jen, you got me?
Maybe.
Okay.
All angles are 90 degrees.
I agree with that.
Okay. One angle, remember DAE is 42.
Okay, start with. Go, keep going.
Okay. So you subtract that by 90
Why are you doing that right now, though?
to get the other congruent side. To get the other angle.
Which angle?
BAE. Or
That's the one we got already.
something.
Even Jen's stuck.
Okay. DAE is congruent. It's 42 degrees. So that means ADE.
Okay, she moving now. Okay, here we go. We starting now. This is what the other kids was telling me. Shh, be quiet. Pay attention. Jen about to work for y'all. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's congruent. Both of them congruent.
Uh-huh.
So then you add them together, and then get
Oh, you going that path? Huh? We don't have to go this way,
okay.
but you can.
Okay.
That's one way to go. Go ahead.
And then you subtract that by 180.
Okay. So she said she's gonna add these two together, subtract from 180. What you get, Jen?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Found that out. Is it? It's 80.
So I'm gonna just do 180 minus 42 minus 42. Go ahead. What you got? 96. 96. So what's 96, Jen? start packing up. What y'all packed up for? We got 5 minutes left. And we're going to do this other problem, too, so I don't know what y'all packed up for. Shh. Oh, this moving too slow in here. Y'all ain't impressive. I'll finish it. So 96 degrees will go on this angle AED right here. This angle right here is 96 degrees. This one way, they didn't even go this path in the other class. But it's not a bad path to take. You can go more than one way. That angle is 96 degrees. This angle and the angle that we're looking for, what's their relationship? They're supplementary. Thank you, bud. So to find that other angle, I would just do 180 minus 96. 84 degrees. So this angle would be 84. That's one route you could have taken. Yeah. I know, the other kids did a different way too. The other kids, they went from 42, and they said 90 minus 42, and they got this angle over here, 48 degrees, and then they said this was 48 degrees, and then they said isosceles, and then they did, yeah, they did that. Yeah, that's another. Why you didn't explain it to me? I was asking you to. I lend it out to anybody. There's more than one way to do this. The other kids in the other class did it another way, but that's fine. Either way will work for me. Shh. Last one. Let's hit this real quick. VW equals 9x minus 11. I told y'all not to pack up. We got 4 minutes left. Once again, you should not be packed up in here. That's all right. You just hurting yourself at the end of the day. SU equals 16x minus 12. On this one, they want me to find WT, but before I can find WT, I need to find the value of X. What equation are you going to give me to find the value of X, Kayla?
2
Uh-huh.
minus 9x minus 11
Thank you.
equals 16x minus 12.
Nobody should be confused on why we wrote it that way either. Kind of just did it up top a minute ago. My only other question I'll ask you is, they don't want us to find X. We need X, though. They want us to find WT. Which one of y'all going to plug back into to get WT? 9x minus 11, because VW is congruent to WT, yes? All right. Solve that so you can have that work on your paper. Let me get that. Nah, my finger's on the back and push it. Oh yeah, thank you. I'm about to say some foolishness too. And DJ might say something stupid.